Hello and welcome back to Motors for the Masses, and I am here today on the back of the popularity of the previous video, and I want to thank you all for your input, your likes, your views and your comments on the 5 amazing bikes that should be brought back. So here I am with another video of another 5 awesome motorbikes that really should be brought back. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. Now, there are lots of bikes that have disappeared that were fantastic and really should be back in our shops and under our legs, between our legs again. So let's jump straight in with number 1. And that is this, the Suzuki GSX400. Now, this was an amazing muscle bike. It was produced between 2001 and 2008, had a 1,402cc 4-stroke, 4-cylinder, 16-valve double overhead cam engine, developed 105 brake horsepower, 92 pounds-foot of torque, and had a top speed of 145 miles an hour. Now, this was an absolute brute of a bike. I've always liked these, and I don't know why I've never had one in my garage. And I've got the Hornet 900, which is similar, but it's just not the absolute beast that is the GSX 1400. I mean, it's a proper old school muscle bike. It's just a monster, isn't it? And I want to see that back again. Again, slight modern take. Keeping obviously the fuel injection, but with an upgraded modern version that's compliant with European laws and all that nonsense. But I also want to see back that colour scheme, the white and the blue striped tank, really nice. Even the black and the red version, very nice looking, but it's just a big naked monster of a bike, and I'd love to see that back again. So on to number 2. Now, this one was a bike I considered buying myself. When I did my 404 hybrid build with Malcolm, this was a bike that I considered and I actually wanted originally because of the strange setup of the look of the engine, and that is what I wanted. And this is the Honda CX500. Now, this was made between 1978 and 1983, had a 497cc 4-stroke longitudinal 80-degree V-twin engine with the camshaft between the V of the cylinders. It's just a lovely setup, nice looking engine and a nice sounding engine. It developed 50 brake horsepower, 34 pounds-foot of torque, and had a top speed of 112 miles an hour. Now, again, it's a classic looking bike. Very in keeping with the day. You know, lots of bikes had that same sort of look, but that engine with those pots on top, very distinctive, lovely looking bike, really nice, and I'd love to see a modern version of that, but again, keeping the design of the engine, because that is what made it quite iconic. A very lovely looking bike, a great sounding bike. I've never actually ridden one. I know someone who's got 2 or 3 of them, along with several Honda 404s. You know who you are, if you're watching, obviously. But yeah, I would love to have a go on one of those, to be honest. I've never actually ridden one, but I just think they just look beautiful and they're very nice bikes indeed. And that brings us on to number 3, and this one might surprise a few people. But that is this, the Yamaha FS1 or FS1E. Now this was produced between 1973 and 1988, had a 49cc 2-stroke single-cylinder engine, developed 4.8 brake horsepower, although the 1969 Japanese-only produced version had 6 brake horsepower and could do more than 50 miles an hour. I mean, I say that. I mean, my very first bike was an FS1 DX, I believe, the 1986 version. I bought one because my brother had the 1976 version. His did 62 miles an hour. Mine did 35 until the 16-year-old that I was decided I'm going to play around with it and make it quicker. So I took off the exhaust system and I fiddled with something, and as you do when you start it in the garage, you've got to start it without the exhaust because it's just part of life. And afterwards, when I put it all back together again, I couldn't get it over 18 miles an hour. No idea what I did, but I ruined it. So yeah, let's see one of these back. Now, 50cc bikes are not very forthcoming at the moment, simply because, one, they're ridiculously slow, and you've got 4, 5 and 6 speed versions of 50cc bikes now. A lot of the Chinese brands are bringing them out. MASH did a very good FS1E-esque type bike, but obviously it's not the same. If the likes of Yamaha bought one out, I think it would sell really, really well, as long as it did 30 miles an hour. We don't want any of this 28 mile an hour nonsense. Or even make it do 35, 40 miles an hour. Just because it does that doesn't mean a 16-year-old is going to pin it. I mean, and also it's basically saying at the age of 16, we don't trust you enough to not do more than 28 miles an hour. However, when you're 17, you get in a car, as long as you can afford the insurance, you can do 150. We're fine with that. But at 16, just the year below, no, 28's your lot. And I think it's dangerous. A lot of the roads in and around town are 40 mile an hour now. And you can't do 28 really without someone, especially with an L plate on, someone right up your backside wanting to get past you and squeeze you over. So they're dangerous. Make them do 35 at least. So people, you know, and I'm sure a 16-year-old will have the ability to keep it at 30. Just like a 17-year-old has the ability to keep their car at 30. I mean, come on. So anyway, yes, that, I believe, the FS1 or the FS1E should be brought back. Definitely. We need more 50cc bikes. Keep the, and don't make it electric. We don't want an electric fizzy. That's just, I mean, it's just the same as an electric SUV Mustang. Don't get me started on that. Anyway, let's move on. So, number 4. Now, this one is a bit of a split. I've sort of clumped 2 bikes into one here, simply because of the style of bike they are, and either one would be great to see back, and I'll explain why in a minute. And they are the Yamaha RD500 or the Suzuki RG500. Now, the Yamaha RD was also known as the RVZ or the RZ, depending where it was in the range and which country you were in. But what was distinctive about both these bikes, the RD and the RG from Suzuki, was that quad exhaust system with that 2-stroke engine. Now again, I know we've got this whole 2-stroke thing, and with the fizzy in the last one, I can't see a problem making a 4-stroke fizzy at all. Really can't, as long as they can make it produce at least 6 horsepower, 5 horsepower even. But these big juicy race style bikes, Oh, I don't know. Yes, two-stroke was a big thing about those bikes. And again, I know I said in the last video that the only two-stroke sound I like is the GT750, but the triple. But again, I do have a bit of a soft spot for these RD500s or the RG500 Gamma. That four exhaust system, two at the top, two at the side, at the bottom, it's just very special, and the sound is quite superb in those. I suppose when it comes to two-stroke, what I don't like is the 50cc scooter two-stroke sound. That's what I don't like. That sort of noise, especially when they're doing 30 mile an hour and they're going because it thinks it's going to make them quicker, and when they accelerate away, that's the bit I hate. That's what's made me hate two-strokes. So I suppose I'm being a bit unfair. And I had someone say, you're not a biker if you don't like a two-stroke. Well, not necessarily, because we're all different. We all like different things. I mean, I love a V8 Mustang. Some people hate them. It'll be a bit weird to hate them, but, you know, there they go. So I suppose this two-stroke I do like. Now, what was special about this? The RD500 was a V4. Oh, just the V4 engine, liquid cooled, brilliant sound. So let's give you some specs. Well, the Yamaha RD was produced between 1984 and 1986, had a 499cc liquid cooled two-stroke V4 engine, developed 88 brake horsepower, 48 pounds-foot of torque, and a top speed of 148 miles an hour. The Suzuki RG500 was produced between 1985 and 1987, had a 498cc liquid-cooled four-cylinder engine, produced 83 brake horsepower, 53 pounds-foot of torque, and a top speed of 146 miles an hour. Now, some people say the RD was fantastic, but when Suzuki a year later brought out the RG500 Gamma, that just knocked the RD out of the water. Now, I don't know about that. Maybe you can comment below if you've ridden both of them, whether you think both those bikes were equally superb or if one trumped the other. But I think either one would be fantastic to see back. Fantastic. As long as it's got a moderner look, but had that four-pipe exhaust system. It's got to have that. Because otherwise it's just not. It's just another four-cylinder bike. It's got to have that. So yes, come on. One of you, please do it. So on to number 5. And this is a bike that's very dear to me, and that is the Honda 404 in either the FO, the F1 or the F2. Now, I'm well aware that Honda do a CB400 with those 4 sweeping pipes, but it's not the same look. Now, when I say bringing these bikes back, I mean, again, a slight modern take, but in the look of the original bike. And that's what I think we need. We need a 404 with those sort of 4 sweeping pipes in that sort of CG125 style look that most bikes had in that day, same as Yamaha and the RD and all that. Although there was a slight difference in the RD with the tank sweeping in the front of, you know what I mean. Let's have a look at some specs. So it's produced between 1973 and 1978, had a 408cc four-stroke four-cylinder engine, produced 37 brake horsepower, 24 pounds-foot of torque, and a top speed of 103 miles an hour. Now, as you know, I have a 404 myself, a 1978 F2.
Look at that! Just look at that in its splendour.
It's done! Now, the F1 was for the American market and the F2 was for the UK market, and the FO was the first one they did throughout the world. I love these bikes. I love those four sweeping exhausts. Mine doesn't have it because it's got an aftermarket collector, so I've got four sweeping pipes into one sort of shotgun style collector. But the four underneath, and they're just fantastic. And the sound, I mean, mine still has the sound of those four into one pipes. Oh, it's just gorgeous, gorgeous sound. I love it. And I think we need that bike brought into the modern era. Again, four-stroke, four-cylinder, lovely sweeping pipes, but just not the look of the modern CB400, because it just doesn't do anything for me. It's just another generic style bike. We need a modern version of the old style of bike. Now, before we end, I want to put in a bonus bike. Now, there was quite a few in contention for the bonus slot, but I think I've come up with one that is quite unique, a very special bike, and something that's been missing from our showrooms and our roads and our ownership for quite a few years. And that is this. So let's start with a bonus introduction. This is the one I'm talking about, the Vincent Black Shadow. Now, this was only produced between 1948 and 1955. It had a 998cc overhead valve V-twin engine, developed 55 brake horsepower, and a top speed of 125 miles an hour. I mean, that's not bad at all for a 1940s to 1950s bike, 125 miles an hour. Now, what is special about this is that V-twin look, that old sort of style 1940s, 1950s bikes, like the Triumphs, like the BSAs, like the Enfields, that sort of thing, the Ariel, although, again, the Ariel was a little bit different. But a lot of bikes of that era were very similar in design. But that V-twin look and that sound, it's got a bit of a Norton look to it. It's just a bit menacing, isn't it? And it sounds brilliant. Have a listen to this. I mean, that is just superb, isn't it? And that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below also. And as before, if you think I've missed something out, I'm probably going to be back with another video because there's more that needs to come. And there's also a selection of cars that I believe should be brought back into the modern era. So stay tuned for a video on that one also. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for joining me. Please like, subscribe and share this video. And until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye bye.